Okay, and welcome back. Here's where we are on the NASCAR truck. If you remember, I had the cage kind of mocked up, put together, and now it's all glued in. Everything that you see there is glued in place, finally. I finally figured out this crazy piece in here. Look at that big spider web of, yeah, it wasn't represented very well in the instructions on exactly how that went in there. So it was a bit of a mystery, and as you can see right there on that part, it does kind of miss right there. And I knew it was going to miss somewhere, and I'm glad that it missed there and not someplace more important. Everywhere else, that's one piece, by the way, that big mess there. And this little extension right here, if I can find it right there, this little extension here is extra. You glue that on separately, and that is shown funny in the instructions, and you'll never figure it out. But the rest of it is one piece, and it goes through the firewall. Had a little hole there, see there, and mounts onto the frame right there. And so all that was a bit of a mystery, as it was represented in the instructions. So if any of you guys are kind of lost, here is a really good look at it. I'm doing this because, man, I couldn't find pictures of this anywhere. So here is a good look at what that's supposed to look like. And I'll show you in the instructions in a second the problem. Oh yes, also, the headrest. A subscriber pointed out that I had put on the headrest incorrectly. Some of you guys probably noticed that and just didn't say anything. Where is it? There we go. That thing. That thing. Okay, I had it straight up and down, and it's supposed to stick out like this. Like that. And I'll show you why I did that. Is because on the instructions, right there, it kind of looks like it's supposed to go straight up and down. And then in other parts of the instructions, it's actually showing it straight up and down. But the one subscriber says he actually works on the real thing, and every other racing seat I saw had it sticking out like that as well, so it was confirmation. The instructions were wrong. And oh yeah, that piece there, see how it's showing that little piece there? It's showing to connect it from the middle of that disaster to up, over, and around. Kind of makes it look like you're supposed to connect it to the headrest. So that didn't make any sense, and I finally realized it's pointing to this little spot on the roll cage right there. But it doesn't reach there, so you just have to glue it there. And that is all you can do. And that's as good as that's going to get. I mean, aside from scratch building. But yeah, all this stuff is glued in. And I know what you're thinking. Oh no, you glued the cage together before you put the dashboard on. You'll never get it in there. And it's true, you'll never get it in there, because this part right here has to hook around that part of the cage. So you'll never be able to get in there and hook around and snap. But you will be able to if you cut it off. Just cut it off. Just cut it off, get it in there, glue it back on. So that's what I tested that, and it does go in there now. But it would be really nice if I had put the steering wheel on, because that is going to be a real challenge to get in there. And I have mocked it up already, because that has to match up under the dash to right about there on the firewall to line up with the steering arm. And that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge. Not something I'm going to be able to show while I'm filming. That's for sure. But all in all, so like up front, I still got parts to put on. The radiator's got to go on, but not before I had to line everything up. Of course, these two inlet, outlet, they go into those two big gaping holes on the front of the engine, and then up to the radiator. And I had to do some trimming there because that wasn't lining up correctly. And you got this thingy here. This is going to be the biggest challenge. I'm going to have to reach right in there. You can see you got that hole. the side of that pump. That is where this side of it goes, and the other side is going to hook around, and boy, is that going to be tight in there, and it mounts into the bottom of it right there, that notch. And the other side is going to be the other lower radiator hose, which I just now realized I hadn't prepared, so that's what it looks like right now. But I will get it on there. Got to get the shock absorbers on, of course. It would have been nice to get the mirror on there before I put the cage together. It's going to hang from up there. But it's already scratched, you know, to the point where the glue will glue, so it's just a matter of getting it wet and putting it up there. Not too worried about that. So we'll get those things going. Now in the back here is going to be the big challenge. And I will get back to that in a second. Other than that, by the way, this whole episode is going to be about completing the chassis. By the end of this episode, the chassis will be completely completed, and we'll be moving on to the body over there. But if you remember early on, I had painted the wheels, and I painted them the wrong color. These are painted the wrong color. These are a dark walnut. And I painted them that because I was just looking at the can. It looked like black to me. But everybody encouraged me, hey, leave them walnut, so we're going to leave those walnut. And so it'll have a little bit of uniqueness. Kind of like the underside of the hood, wherever that went. I'll get back to that. The underside of the hood looks unique. Now, the decals for the tires, if you go on the far side of the tire, you got a slick side. No, you don't. Yeah, you got a slick side, it's just dirty. And then you got a side with raised letters. And so one side is for decal, the other is for if you want to hand paint those letters. And the decal doesn't look good, so I am going to hand paint those. Not looking forward to it. I went and got some paint for it. I can't remember if I was going to go with that color or that color, so I've got to retest them. But I am going to paint those. And okay, let me mock up the back here and explain something. Okay, so here's a look at the way the back is going to go together. And some of you may have been thinking already what I'm thinking, we got a problem. Because of the way the body goes together. Now, of course, you've got a window back there, and you've also got this bed cover. And whether or not you leave the bed cover removable, there's really, if you glue this on, you're not going to be able to, look, you're not going to be able to put the body on and off because of the way that goes through there. And with this much detail, I'm going to want to be able to take the body off to be able to show the whole chassis how it is. So, my goodness, what do you do? And I thought, and it finally occurred to me, I was watching somebody's video. Everybody's talking about those little tiny magnets. And I didn't know where to get them, so I got onto text messaging, and I texted old Tom over at Rambler69, because he knows everything. But he just generally does have the info. So I asked him, hey, where's everybody getting those little magnets? And he sent me a link, and I went and got them. So here they are. These are, let me get a hobby knife next to that. You won't believe how small these are. These are neodymium magnets, and they are 1 millimeter. Look how small these magnets are. They're all lined up, 2 rows of 25, 50 magnets, and they are tiny, tiny, tiny. And so what you do is you take your smallest X-Acto. Oh, would have been nice if I had been prepared. Let me grab it. Okay. So you get your smallest X-Acto. This is the 1/32, and you drill a tiny little hole with the 1/32 X-Acto. I hope. Let's see how close those are. And it looks like even that's, no, there it is. Okay. So you're going to use your smallest X-Acto and hope that that is going to work. Looks like it's going to be a little Too small, but anyway, you get the idea. Then you slip the magnet in there and you glue it in. And then, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to glue this structure. Where's my pointer? Okay. I'm going to glue this bracket to these bars, and so this is all going to be one piece. And then I'm going to install magnets right here and right here and right here and right here. So this will be one big piece that is removable with magnets, so that when I have the body off, and that back panel is of course going to be loose, so I'm going to be able to hopefully jam it through there and through the rear window, which also has 2 holes in it, which will be glued to the body. Gosh, I hope this works. Anyway, I'll have a half a chance of it working if I do all that, so I'm going to go through all that trouble. And you'll start to see that in the next scene, because that's been needing to film all this so I can move on. So in the next scene I'll get quite a few more things on, basically all these parts, and I'll assemble this thing and I'll start showing the detail work on the magnets. So that's coming up in the next scene. Okay, here we go. So we got some things on there now. We've got the shocks are on there. We've got the radiators on there. And its hose. Also got that oil line on there. Oh, we're going to be able to show that. Maybe get a little closer. So the oil line was difficult to get in there, as you can imagine. But it's in there. And I know it looks like it's hitting that pulley, but it is not. See there? Clearing. Okay, other than that, we have, what else do we have here? Let me spin it around. So we have that steering arm there, and I was able to sort of line it up. Actually, wow, I missed by a mile, didn't I? That was really, really hard. I was lucky to get what I got. As long as you look at it from far away, it'll be fine. But it is in there. I got the dashboard in there. And also the mirror is in there. Let me see how reflective that is. That is the Molotow pen I used. Okay, otherwise, what do we got here? That is looking pretty good on the front end, just about done. I got to get that lower radiator hose in there. Now, moving on to the back, I know this is what everybody's wondering about. Now, let me get this other piece up there. Okay. So, I've changed my mind a little bit. Remember, let's see, get the bracket up there. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wandering off here. Okay, we're just going to have to kind of remember. That is going to be up on that bar. It's not going to do it now because I have that toothpick in there. So why do I have that toothpick in there? Now, to get this all to line up, what I've done is I have filled those forward holes with glue so that they are flat. Let's see if I can see that. So, I mean, they had started with the little nub sticking out there, and I cut that off. So the bottom of these bars is flat, and the reason why is because I got to get a magnet in there, and it really was not going to work well. So I cut the nub off. I drilled a hole straight through, and I've got that toothpick holding it in place right now, just to make sure the alignment is correct. And I've done the same thing up here. I've drilled the hole straight through the roll bar just to make sure that the alignment is correct, and I've got that toothpick holding it in place as well. So the next step is to try to get the magnets in there, because there's, you know, the holes should be there. Just wanted to get a shot of it at this stage so that you can, because I might not be able to quite see it very well afterwards, and just give you an idea of what I did to keep it aligned. And so we're moving on to the next scene. I should have that whole concept finished, and we're really hoping that's going to work well. And we will see you in the next scene. Okay, here we go. What do you know? It worked. This is not mocked up now. The little tiny magnets are in there. Oh my. This was difficult. So if you can see here, let me reach in there and pop. Pop. See that? They're magnetic now. Whoops. And then, wow. Never mind. Oh, good grief. Hard to do. There we go. See that? This side too. Little tiny magnets in there. Bing. Wow, this is hard to film. Wow! And actually, I was going to do this whole tutorial on how to work with these little tiny magnets, but oh, good grief, I could barely even do it. I couldn't. There's no way I was going to be able to do it and film it. Let me pop one of these off so I can show you what we got. Where is it? There you go. Okay. So, as you can see there, let me see if I can get closer there. There's a magnet in the roll bar and a magnet in the beam there, the support beam, and the same thing down at the other end. Glued a magnet in there, right there. Oh boy, this scene is going terrible. Okay, and then a magnet in there. Put them all together and they, wow. Curiously, it works really good. It's just, you see that? Magnet, magnet. Bing, bing. Anyway, it works. So, obviously I have a lot of cleanup to do. I need to fill in these holes and erase my marks or paint over them, fill the other side of the roll bar. I've got a lot of filler work to do, and then clean up, and I'll probably end up repainting these bars yellow because you'll see later they've gotten very dirty because of so much working with them. And so how do you get the little magnets in there? Boy, I was going to do a tutorial, but there ain't no way to film that. I mean, some of you guys might be able to. These things are so small right there. And to add to it, they are polarized, so they have to be in the correct direction, otherwise they'll repel. And the secret to keeping that straight is what I would do is let me try to pick these up, bring them up here. Okay. The secret to that is I would take two of them off, like you can imagine. And then what I would do is I would use a Sharpie marker and leave them stuck together. Use a Sharpie marker and mark the ends that are exposed with the marker, and so I know which way they go together. And then so after you drill your hole, you make sure that the end with the black on it would get glued into the hole and into the other side as well, so that the silver sides are exposed, and those would be the sides that attract. Now, there's all kinds of problems that happen because, as it turns out, all of your hobby, you're not going to believe this, but all of your hobby equipment, unless you got some neat plastic stuff, is metal. And these things stick to them like crazy, and you can't get them apart, and every time you get them separated, they end up rolling across and sticking to something. And so, you know, the challenge is I had made this little tool here. Let me bring that up there. I made this little tool. You can glue the back end of two toothpicks together and then wedge a piece of another toothpick in there. so that you basically got yourself a pair of wooden tweezers. But what happens with this, you grab a hold of it, grab a hold of one of these tiny little magnets with the end of the tweezers, and then you hear this little popping noise, and then your magnet is gone. I mean gone, you're never going to find it. And I lost about 4 of them that way, and they're just somewhere in the shed, and they're lost forever. So that will happen, and I ended up using a process of letting them kind of stick onto the end of the metal tweezers, get them into the hole that was full of glue, and then kind of roll them off with my fingernail, and then make all kinds of adjustments. It wasn't pretty, and it was impossible to film. There's probably better ways to do it, and I think that better ways means professional plastic tweezers. That's my guess. So I gotta find, if I'm going to keep working with these, I need to find some professional plastic tweezers. And that, in a nutshell, is how that went. And yeah, you know what? You can grind on these. Some of you might wonder, see, like that one right there is not sitting completely flush. And you might want to grind that. Other than sand, if it was plastic, you would sand it. If the magnet's sticking out just a touch, yes, you can grind that. But then you got, and I did. But then you've got another issue that happens, is all that dust that forms, if you get your magnets near it, or you get anything metal near it, all that dust is magnetic now. And so I went a few rounds with all that as well. Took a while to get all my stuff, all my tools clean again, get all the magnet dust off of everything. But I did it. So this was my first try with these things, and that's how it went. Anyway, so does it work? Does this solve the problem? Let's try a mock-up and see what we got. Okay, so here is a mock-up to see if that works, and I think that we can successfully say, yeah, basically. Yeah, basically works. They have... it's impossible to get in there. But they are correctly sticking onto the roll bar there after going through these holes. It's really tight, so I think I am going to waller out those ovals a little bit more on the front, just to make the fit a little better. But inside the bed chassis area, they are also on their marks. And so, you know, kind of a miracle, really, when you think about it. And so, yeah, it all went together. What do you know? It's possible. A lot of work, but, I mean, gosh, you want to be able to take the body off. So, anyway, I think that what I'm going to do now is get this all taken apart again, and get back to the chassis roll bar look, and talk about that one little bit more. Okay, and back to the frame. As I was saying before, all I have to do now is clean everything up. And probably respray these bars. I'll see if they clean up nice with some Windex, usually is what I use for that. And so all I'm going to do now is clean up and fill and paint and try to make this look good. And then go get my tires from the garage, because I've been working on them in there with the sander. And then we'll be able to finish up this this portion. The entire chassis will be done in the next scene, I think. So hang tight. Okay, and moving right along, you can see I've got it all cleaned up now. I've got everything filled. Let's see how close I'm going to get before it blurs. Everything filled up and repainted and looking much better. Also new is this bottom bracket piece, this piece right here. I have now glued that onto those bars, so this whole thing, you can see here, this is all now one, let's me back up here. This is all now one unit. It's all one big, see that? One big piece there. So, because the white part there, the little bracket, was going to be impossible to attach, with magnets or what have you, through that trunk. And so I just made it one big piece. So theoretically, you drive these pieces up through that bed cover, and then back through the back window, and click onto these like that, and then down there and into place. And I got this one part right down here that's a little tight, but it goes in. And then there you go. So, in theory, that's going to work great. Now next, everything's done. Look at this. All I have to do is put the tires on, and there they are. I actually, those of you guys that know me well know that I don't paint the lettering, but this particular time I did. And yeah, I haven't been painting lettering because I'm not good at it, but what do you know, lately I've been doing it, so I'm getting good at it. And I was just with a toothpick. That's crafted acrylic yellow applied with a toothpick. And these tires have been sanded real nice. Let's see there. They were uneven, so it took a while, but I got them. There they are. And they are ready to go on. You just got these pins that hold them on, but I think that the pressure fit isn't very good, so I'm going to have to glue those pins on. So these tires are not going to be removable. Once they're on, they're on. So let's put them on. Alright, and so there we go. It is a completed chassis. And good news, the wheels do still roll. In fact, that is why I've got that big semi drive shaft sitting there, is because it keeps rolling off of my turntable here. And so that is, that's just to explain why that's there. But, gosh, I couldn't be more happy. There's just a look at it. Now there are more, there's hoses, let me see, right over here. See there, the clear parts, you can kind of see. Those are the gas fill lines, and they're going to attach to this fuel cell and then to the wall of the body over there. Right there. And so I'm not doing that yet until I can see exactly how that's going to line up, but that's the only thing on the chassis that's not in place at this point. The rest of it is ready to go. And gosh, I'm happy with that. And so of course next is going to be the body. This is where we put on all the decals and whatever trim. I haven't even really taken a look at it yet, but oh yeah, the front bumper and the hood and all that great stuff. And really looking forward to that part. That's the real fun part for me. And that shouldn't take very long, and that will be the next and final update on this one. And then the whole thing will be all together. It'll be weird. Anyway, there we go. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for the next episode.